In the creepy corners of the internet lie mysterious, terrifying, unnerving, and confusing shadows. These shadows often hide in the most popular websites on the planet. There are online marketplaces where transactions turn to tales of terror. Well, dear listener, you already know that. In fact, you're here because you know very well that Craigslist holds secrets that are as alluring as they are alarming. Tonight, you'll hear 3 true Craigslist horror stories that stretch the bounds of belief. You'll discover ordinary deals that descend into unimaginable dread. These narratives weave a tapestry of tension, fear, and survival. Brace yourself as we uncover the dark side of digital marketplace encounters, where every click can lead to a confrontation with the unknown. Listen closely, for these tales are not for the faint of heart. Welcome to the chilling depths of Craigslist horror. Story 1: The Job Interview.
In the dimly lit corners of my life, unemployment had cast a long, oppressive shadow, thickening with each passing day. Desperation gnawed at me, a relentless beast that drove me to scour the depths of online job postings late into the night. My search led me to an ad that, in hindsight, was laced with the dark and threatening whispers of a warning I failed to heed. It promised a simple clerical position at a local auto repair shop. Basic requirements, immediate start. I should have recognized the urgency in the posting as the first sign of the lurking danger ahead. The owner, who introduced himself as Mr. Blackburn in our brief phone exchange, suggested we meet at a quaint diner to discuss the job details over coffee. An odd choice, I thought, but in my eagerness, I brushed aside the twinge of unease that tickled the back of my mind. However, as fate would have it, a last-minute message redirected me to the shop itself, deepening the narrative of dread that was slowly unfolding. Arriving at the given address, I was greeted not by the bustling sounds of productivity, but by an eerie silence that clung to the air like a thick fog. The shop, a dilapidated building, with peeling paint and windows so grimy they seemed to swallow the light, stood as a tombstone, marking the grave of my dwindling hope. A cold shiver danced down my spine as I stepped inside, the door creaking ominously behind me. The interior was a chaotic symphony of disorder. Grease-stained papers littered the floor, and the stench of oil and decay filled my nostrils. Amidst the disarray, Mr. Blackburn emerged, his appearance as unkempt as his surroundings. Stains adorned his shirt, and his eyes, dark and piercing, seemed to size me up with an unsettling intensity. Our conversation, if it could be called that, quickly veered off course. Mr. Blackburn, with a beer in hand, seemed more interested in sharing the sordid details of his life than discussing job responsibilities. His tales, peppered with bitterness towards an unseen girlfriend and unsolicited compliments about my appearance, wove a web of discomfort that clung to my skin. Despite the alarm bells ringing in my head, politeness shackled me to that chair, a prisoner of my own making. It was not until he insisted on giving me a tour of the back room that panic took root, flourishing in the fertile soil of fear. My instincts screamed at me to flee, to escape the suffocating atmosphere that promised nothing but doom. Excusing myself with a lie about a non-existent boyfriend waiting for me, I made my hasty retreat. The chill of the outside air did little to quell the fire of terror that raged within. It was only later, when the police revealed their investigation into Mr. Blackburn for assaults on previous unsuspecting interviewees, that the full magnitude of my narrow escape truly dawned on me. I had walked into that shop a naive job seeker, blinded by the urgency of my needs. I left a survivor, haunted by the knowledge of what evils lurk in the shadows of desperation. The experience taught me a grim lesson about the instincts we carry, those primal warnings that whisper to us of danger. In the face of fear, listening to that inner voice is not just a choice, but a necessity for survival. As I share this tale, the shadows of that day cling to me still, a constant reminder of the horrors that walk amongst us, cloaked in the guise of normalcy. The world is a stage for nightmares to unfold, and that shop, with its miasma of dread, was merely one of its many arenas.
Story 2. Bicycle Shop Terror.
In a small town shadowed by the decline of industrial prosperity, I found myself scouring the depths of Craigslist for a decent bike for my rapidly growing son, Jamie. My husband, Mark, and I had always prided ourselves on being practical. With only Jamie to consider, our approach to parenting was anything but lavish. Hence, when Jamie outgrew his old bike, the hunt for a new one led me to an ad that seemed too good to be true. A nearly new mountain bike listed for a fraction of its retail price. The seller, referred to only as Mr. Thorne, agreed to let me pick up the bike from his residence on the outskirts of town. Mark was away on a business trip, leaving me to venture out alone. As I drove towards the address, the houses thinned out, and the vibrant colors of suburbia gave way to a more desolate, forgotten part of town. The house, cloaked in the fading light of dusk, sat at the end of a long, neglected drive. Its windows, soulless and dark, watched me as I parked my car. A chill ran down my spine, not from the cold, but from the eerie silence that enveloped the place. Reminding myself of the bargain, I mustered the courage to approach the front door. A knock seemed to echo into the void, answered only by the creaking of the door as it slowly swung open. No one was there to greet me, yet an inexplicable force urged me inside. The interior was shrouded in shadows, dust particles dancing in the scant beams of light that penetrated the darkness. Mr. Thorne? My voice felt alien in the silence. A soft clatter from the back of the house drew me towards a dimly lit workshop, where the promised bike leaned against a workbench, its red paint gleaming unnervingly in the gloom. As I inspected it, the feeling of being watched crawled over my skin. Turning, I found myself face to face with a mirror. My reflection was expected, but the shadowy figure standing behind me was not. I spun around, but there was no one there, only the lingering sense of a presence. Panic rising, I decided to leave, the bike forgotten. Yet, as I retraced my steps, the layout of the house seemed to shift subtly, disorienting me. Corridors stretched longer than before, and doors that should have led to the exit opened to unfamiliar rooms filled with antiquated furniture covered in dust sheets, as if waiting for occupants long gone. The real horror struck when I finally found the front door and flung it open, only to be met with the interior of the house once more. It was as if the building itself refused to let me leave, its layout a labyrinth designed to confuse and trap. As desperation took hold, a cold whisper brushed my ear, "Stay with us." The voice, barely human, filled with loneliness and longing, sent me running. Eventually, I stumbled upon a window that looked out onto the driveway where my car waited, bathed in moonlight. With no other thought than escape, I hurled a chair through the glass and clambered out, cutting myself on the shards as I did so. Once outside, I didn't dare look back, half expecting the house to loom over me, reaching out to pull me back into its depths. I drove away as fast as I could, the rear-view mirror reflecting only the night and the road behind me. No sign of the house that had promised a simple transaction, but had almost ensnared me forever. The bike was forgotten, lost to the shadows of a place that preyed on the unwary. Mark and I never spoke of the incident, but we never visited that part of town again, and Jamie received a new bike from a local store, a price we gladly paid for safety. The experience haunted me, a stark reminder that some bargains come at too high a cost, hidden in the fine print of an unseen contract with the unknown.
Story 3, The Textbook Collection.
During my junior year of university, amidst a tumultuous season of exams and tight budgets, I decided to sell my collection of textbooks. They were relics of semesters past, each page a testament to the hours I'd poured into my studies. Financial desperation led me to Craigslist, a marketplace of the unpredictable, where I naively posted them for sale, hoping for quick cash. The responses trickled in slowly at first, a mix of lowball offers and questionable trades, until one reply stood out. The message was succinct, expressing interest in purchasing the entire lot. There was something earnest in the way the person communicated, devoid of the usual haggling or suspiciously vague inquiries. Eager for the sale and blinded by my need, I overlooked the red flags that, in hindsight, were glaring. We agreed to meet, but the buyer's insistence on an off-campus location stirred a flicker of unease within me. The suggested spot was a quaint coffee shop nestled between the quietude of suburbia and the rush of the city, a middle ground that seemed safe enough. Yet, the choice of time, just as the sun dipped below the horizon, cloaking everything in shadows, should have been my cue to retreat. But desperation is a powerful motivator, and it nudged me forward into the gathering dusk. I arrived early, the coffee shop's warm glow a beacon in the twilight. The area, unfamiliar to me, whispered secrets through its winding streets and looming buildings. As time stretched on, the buyer's messages became erratic, apologies laced with vague reasons for delays. Tension coiled within me, each passing minute a weight that pressed down with increasing intensity. Then the atmosphere shifted. The comforting buzz of the coffee shop's patrons dimmed as they departed, leaving behind a silence that was almost tangible. My phone buzzed, a message. The buyer was near, but had chosen a different meeting spot at the last minute, an isolated park just a few blocks away. The reasoning seemed plausible. Perhaps it was closer, more convenient for them. Yet, the suggestion prickled at my already heightened senses. The park was known for its desolation after dark, a stark contrast to the safety of the coffee shop. Against better judgment, my feet moved of their own accord, drawn by the magnetic pull of financial need. The park loomed ahead, its entrance marked by aged wrought iron gates that groaned in protest as I pushed them open. Inside, the world was a monochrome shadow play, illuminated only by the feeble light of a few scattered lampposts. I waited, enveloped in a silence so dense it muffled the distant city sounds. Time seemed to congeal around me, each second stretching into eternity. Then, out of the darkness, figures emerged, silhouettes that moved with purposeful intent. Not one, as I had expected, but several. Panic surged, a visceral tide that demanded flight. Yet, I stood frozen, caught in the beam of their approaching flashlights, like a deer in headlights. The light blinded me, obscuring their faces, their intentions. Words failed me, dissolving into the night air, unspoken. It was then, in that moment of petrifying clarity, I realized the gravity of my mistake. The textbook sale, an innocuous attempt to alleviate financial strain, had ensnared me in a scenario far beyond my control. Miraculously, the sound of distant footsteps, unrelated yet alarmingly close, pierced the tension. The figures halted, their deliberation palpable in the charged air. Seizing the moment of distraction, I turned and fled, driven by a primal instinct to survive. I didn't stop running until the park, the figures, and the night itself were nothing but a harrowing memory behind me. In the aftermath, the textbooks remained unsold, a minor detail overshadowed by the lesson learned. The experience taught me the value of caution, the importance of listening to one's instincts, and the realization that some risks far outweigh their potential rewards. It was a harrowing encounter that lingered at the edge of my thoughts, a ghostly reminder of what almost was.